Welcome to the video. I'm Brains, and I am your math tutor. Today, we're going to talk about the basics of algebra. We're going to talk about variables. We're going to talk about replacing a variable with a value. And we're going to talk about solving some simple equations. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so we have variables. Variables are usually just a letter, like X, Y, or Z. It doesn't really matter. You could even make it like a picture of a bunny rabbit. Variable just represents a number that we don't know yet. So a variable is just an unspecified value. Because it's a number, we can still do all the basic arithmetic with it. We can add variables, we can subtract, we can multiply, we can divide, we can have exponents, we can even have them in complex functions. Lots of time, we will see variables written in words, something that we have to figure out or name ourselves. So, for example, a number greater than 2, or a number plus 3. In our case, we could just name it x. We could name the number x. It also could represent some objects or number of people. For example, like the number of blue marbles, or the number of planets in the galaxy. So just remember that a variable is just a number and we don't know what the value is yet. Okay, now what happens if we do have a value? How do we replace a variable with a value? When we replace a variable, I like to say we are plugging in a value. So if we have an equation with a bunch of x's, let's say, and then we have an answer like x equals 2, we just replace every x with the value 2. After we're done replacing a variable with a value, we just follow regular order of operations to solve and simplify our value. So for example, we have 2 times x. If we have x equal to 3, so then we replace our x with the value 3. So then we have 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and we're done. Let's try x minus 1 squared. And let's plug in x equals 3. If we have x equals to 3, we just replace x with the value 3. So then we have 3 minus 1 squared. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 squared is 4. And we're done. It is important to remember what you're plugging in and where it is going. Because for example, we could have a negative value, like x equals to negative 1. Let's try with this function. We're going to plug in x equals minus 1 into x squared plus x. Now I'm going to show you how to do it the wrong way and show you how to do it the right way so you can tell the difference. So let's start with the wrong way. We're going to plug in the minus 1 into x squared. We'll get minus 1 squared minus 1. Okay. Now, this is where most students will just square the 1 and forget about the minus sign. So, we'll be left with minus 1 minus 1, which is minus 2. Now, that's wrong, and here's why. If we do it the right way, we're going to put the minus 1 inside where the x would be, because the x is squared, minus 1 is squared. So, we'll have minus 1 squared plus a minus 1. Minus 1 squared is a negative times a negative, so it's positive. So we have plus 1, then minus 1. And so we have 1 minus 1, which equals 0. Hope that helps you see the difference. It's a little trick that I do that whenever I'm subbing something into a function, I always put that in parentheses so I don't mess up what that new value is being acted on by the function. Now, let's take it one step further. Let's have an equal sign. So we'll have an expression or an equation now. Now, it's important to know what an equal sign is and what it means. An equal sign just means that whatever's on the left side is equal to whatever's on the right side. but also vice versa. So whatever's on the right side is equal to the left side. So for example, if we have x plus 3 equals to 4, then x plus 3 is equal to 4, but also 4 is equal to x plus 3. This means that they are balanced, kind of like a scale or kind of like a seesaw at the playground. If we have the same amount of weight on both sides, then it's balanced. But if we change the weight on one side but don't change it on the other, it becomes unbalanced. So an equation is balanced to begin with, and we need to make sure that whatever we do to it, it stays balanced. So now let's try and solve some. Solving equations is usually in a way of saying, let's find the value of x, if x is our variable. So we would have x equals to something, some number. In solving equations, it's important to remember a few basic principles of numbers. Like if we add 0 to a number, we just get the same number back. And if we multiply by 1, we get the same number back. So for example, 1 times 2 is still 2, and 2 plus 0 is still 2. So let's keep those in mind while we solve these expressions. Let's start with a simple one like x plus 3 is 4. If x plus 3 is 4, we want to still get x by itself. Let's start with taking away 3 from both sides, because we want to make sure whatever we do on the left is the same as what we do on the right. Taking away 3 from both sides gets rid of those 3's. Then we would have just x plus 0, which is just x. So we have x equals 4 minus 3, so x equals 1. How about 3x equals 6? We want x by itself, but we have a 3 that's being multiplied onto it. We remember that with fractions, if we have a 3 and we divide by 3, we get 1. So we'll do that. Let's divide both sides by 3. So now we have 3x divided by 3 is equal to 6 divided by 3. The 3's cancel out and just give you 1. So then we have x equals 6 divided by 3. So x equals 2. Now let's try a mixture. X divided by 2 plus 3 is equal to 8. First, let's work with that 3. We have to take away 3 from both sides. We're going to take x divided by 2 plus 3, subtract 3, equals to 8 minus 3. 3 minus 3 is 0, so that's gone. That's great. Then we have x divided by 2 is equal to 8 minus 3, so 5. X divided by 2 is equal to 5. Let's get rid of that divided by 2, because then we'll have that x by itself. What we can do now is multiply both sides by 2. Because if we multiply both sides by 2, then the 2's cancel out and we have x by itself. So then we have 2 times x over 2 is equal to 5 times 2. So x equals 10. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below.